the Duke of Milan is the main character in the play. He likes to study philosophy and logic. He becomes indifferent to the management of his state affairs due to his deep involvement in the study. He spends most of his time in the study of books. Prospero trusts his brother Antonio to handle the management of state affairs. But Antonio betrays him with the help of Alonso, the king of Naples, who was the enemy of Prospero. Gradually, Antonio controlled all powers in his own hands and enhanced his authority. He removes Prospero from his dukedom and sets him and his daughter Miranda in a boat through the dark and stormy night of the sea waves. Gonzalo, an old courtier who was loyal to Prospero, puts food and fresh water in the boat to save their lives. He also placed his valuable books on philosophy and magic in the boat to help him to continue and pursue his studies. They both, father and daughter, reached an uninhabited island where they lived for 12 years in isolation away from outside world. During these 12 years, he practiced miracle powers and became a magnificent magician. Now he could control several spirits of air, earth, water, and fire. Before Prospero came to the island, a witch named Sycorax ruled on the island with her powers of magic. Sycorax was a blue-eyed North African witch who practices sorcery and witchcrafts and became so powerful even could control the moon. Sycorax dies. Her death was caused by her choking on a fish bone 2 years before Prospero and Miranda's arrival on the island. Ariel remained in pain until Prospero arrived and freed him. She remained in captivity for 12 years in the tree. Before Prospero's arrival, Caliban was free to roam the entire island. Prospero took him into the own cell and tried to teach him things including language, etc. Whenever Caliban disobeys Prospero, he punishes him with his magical powers. Caliban hates Prospero and always curses him as Prospero enslaved him and occupied his mother's island on which she was ruling before her death. Prospero gets a chance to take revenge from his enemies when the king of Naples, Alonso, was returning in a ship through that island from the wedding of his daughter, Claribel, to the king of Tunis in Africa. Antonio, the present Duke of Milan, Sebastian, brother of Alonso, Gonzalo, the old courtier, and a few people were also sailing in the ship. Prospero commanded Ariel to raise a furious storm in the sea to create a havoc among the passengers. Alonso's son Ferdinand jumps into the sea to save himself. Prospero had instructed Ariel not to cause any harm to the passengers on the ship, not even to the ship. But the passengers thought that the ship got wrecked and they all would be drawn into the sea. Ariel makes arrangements in such a way that all passengers got landed to the shore but in different groups. Each group was ignorant about the presence of the other group. Ferdinand, who had jumped into the sea, thinks that he is the only survivor of the shipwreck. Alonso imagined that his son Ferdinand has died in the sea. He is in the company of his courtiers. He is very set on his son's death as he assumed himself. Antonio had annexed his brother's kingdom. Now he conspires against Alonso, the king of Naples, who helped him to get rid of Prospero. Antonio provokes Sebastian to murder Alonso and Gonzalo, old courtier, in their sleep and become the king of Naples. Sebastian agrees with his plan. When Antonio and Sebastian take out their swords to kill Alonso and Gonzalo in their sleep, the invisible Ariel awakens them and they get failed in their planning. But Antonio and Sebastian postpone and hope to execute their plan later on. On the other side, on the island, Prospero asks Ariel to bring Ferdinand, Alonso's son, near his room. Ariel brings him to his cell. Here, Ferdinand meets Miranda, around 15 years old, beautiful daughter of Prospero. Miranda and Ferdinand both fall in love with each other at first sight. Miranda had never met any other human being except her father before the arrival of Ferdinand, long after her childhood that she had spent in her palace when she was only 3 years old, when her father was the Duke of Milan 12 years back. She hardly remembers anything about her past. Prospero also wants both of them to get married, but not so smoothly. He sets a test for Ferdinand to check him. He assigns him a hard task of piling woods at one place. Miranda asks her father not to be so harsh towards Ferdinand, but Prospero refuses to do so. Prospero hears the conversation between the two lovers and confirms about the true love for each other. Later, he decides to allow them to get married. Now Prospero deals his enemies who had tried to kill him and his daughter 12 years ago. Prospero orders some of his spirits to organize a large meal party accompanied by some ceremony and entertainment and appear before Alonso and his courtiers. The spirits make arrangements for the banquet, dance, and invite Alonso to eat food, then they disappear. Alonso and his companions got shocked to see the activities of strange shapes before them. When Alonso moves forward to eat the food, Ariel appears before them in the shape of a harpy. As mentioned in Greek or Roman mythology, a harpy is an unpleasant monster-type bird having a woman's head and bird's wings and claws. The harpy condemns the three, Antonio, Alonso, and Sebastian, for the crime they had committed and calls them three men of sin. The harpy tells them to repent for their evil deeds and vow to lead a sinless life in future, and she disappears. All three grow miserable and lose the balance of minds. Ariel, being invisible, imprisons them into a lime grove. Prospero was happy with Ferdinand as he has successfully passed the test. So Prospero allows Ferdinand to marry Miranda and arrange a masque to entertain the couple. The word masque is pronounced as masque, is a festival or entertainment party in which disguised participants offer gifts to their hosts and join together for a dance. Ariel informs Prospero that the three prisoners in the lime grove feel miserable and depressed and he feels sympathetic towards them. Prospero orders Ariel to bring them before him. The three men in sin appear before Prospero. Prospero expresses his gratitude to Gonzalo, the old courtier, for helping him and his daughter 12 years ago when Antonio had plotted to kill both of them. He addresses him as my true preserver. Prospero has the magical powers to destroy his enemies, but he forgives them all. He takes Alonso and all his companions to his cell where his son Ferdinand and Miranda were playing chess. Alonso is delighted to see his son alive. The main plot of the play ends in Prospero's forgiveness of his enemies. The subplot concludes in the marriage of Miranda and Ferdinand. There is one more subplot in the play in which Caliban, Trinculo, and Stefano are involved. Trinculo is a jester who makes people laugh, and Stefano is a butler in King Alonso's party. They get separated from the Alonso's group. Both Trinculo and Stefano are heavy drinkers. Caliban also gets drunk after Stefano pours wine into his mouth. Caliban conspires with Stefano and Trinculo to kill Prospero in his afternoon sleep. But the plan gets failed by Ariel. During the scene of reconciliation and happiness, Ariel appears with the master and bosun of the wrecked ship. The three sinners are brought in by Ariel, and Prospero sets them free of his spell. Prospero orders Caliban to clean the cell and prepare food for all. Prospero invites his brother and the king of Naples to spend the night in his cave. Prospero gives freedom to Ariel before leaving the island. In return, Ariel promises to provide calm seas and favorable winds for the voyage. Alonso apologizes to Prospero and makes him Duke of Milan again. It is not mentioned in the play whether Caliban gets freedom at the end. Caliban either goes with Prospero or remains on the island which Prospero took from him with his magical powers.